Let's get some more analysis on the tariffs with Chris Southworth, who is Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce here in the United Kingdom. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us. So, with the US tariffs on Canada and Mexico paused for now, how do you see this playing out, and what can businesses do to prepare?
Yeah, if I can make sort of 4 key points here, especially with China, it's just to stress the importance of the World Trade Organization. It's the rules of the road for trade. It's vital to us all in terms of just making sure that the system is fair and benefits everybody. The issue, of course, here is that Donald Trump, the US, have imposed 10% tariffs, but China is doing the right thing by following the rules and lodging a complaint through the proper channels and supporting the WTO in the process, and also not over-retaliating, which is really important. Let's be clear, the US is breaking the global trade rules. We have to be clear about that. The big question actually is what the rest of the world do, or the international community do about it. And China is obviously in the hot seat at the moment, but also a whole range of other countries are also being impacted here, whether it's Canada, Mexico, EU is in the frame, India's in the frame, UK's in the frame. We've all been named, all part of the conversation.
Just to pick up on that point about the WTO, the UK, of course, a strategic partner. What role can it actually play? What kind of teeth does it have to address trade disputes?
Well, I think it has multiple aspects to it. So it is the rules of the road. Without the WTO, the world is chaos. It's just a total free-for-all. It's the one place, the one international body that's responsible for keeping the system structured, orderly, so we all know what to do. It's really, really important. That's the place to come to in order to make sure that trade works for everybody, and it really matters for almost everybody in the world. The US, of course, is a big domestic economy as well, so it's big enough to do what it wants to do in many ways, but it's not big enough anymore. It doesn't have the market power to dismantle trade. It can be disruptive, but it can't dismantle the trading system. And that's really important in terms of the countries that are active in the World Trade Organization community to make sure that the trading system continues to work for everybody, progress is not derailed, and also don't forget Trump is coming in this time into a world that's much better organized since the last time. There are completely different power players, different power brokers, and all of them are working much more intensively than people think in terms of preparation and how to deal with the issues that they're facing.
And focusing on this part of the world, if US tariffs are imposed, especially on the European Union, what kind of impact would that have on UK businesses? The UK, of course, outside the EU, and if it is exempt from tariffs, could that be a really good thing for British firms? Could they benefit from that? And does the UK have any leverage now?
Well, nobody wins from a trade war or a tariff war. Let's be really clear about that. If the US imposed tariffs on Europe, that's 40% of our trade is with Europe. Of course, it will impact the UK. Where the UK is interesting is in the sense that it's not part of the big power blocks anymore, whether it's the EU or anywhere else. There's no reason at all why the UK and US should be in a tariff war. We have a lot of common ground. We're big services economies, so tariffs aren't really important to our economies in the grandest sense. There's a lot of opportunity, and what we're trying to say is let's focus on the big economic opportunities. Let's not get into a tariff war. That doesn't make sense to anybody, and we'll all get damaged if we do. And if you look at it from a US perspective, a tariff war will hurt the US. It will hurt consumers. It will hurt US businesses. The poorest will get hit the hardest, and small businesses will also get hit the hardest. I think what's interesting about a lot of this is the poorest are much of Trump's voter base. How much tolerance and patience they have for a tariff war will be really interesting to watch. But I suspect it won't be very long before his own voter base start to impose pressure on him to say enough's enough, because ultimately it's an increase in prices in the shops,
right,
and the products you buy.
Exactly. Well, Chris, really appreciate your input today. Thanks so much. Chris Southworth, Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, United Kingdom.